Welcome to the Safety Moment. I'm Daniel Cameron. Valor Security Investigations, a Brooklyn, New York outfit that licensed people with safety certifications like OSHA 30s, equipment operators licenses. They issued tens of thousands of these certifications. The rub? They were fraudulent, and it got a man killed. We're going to dig into it today, but first, please do all the things. Like this episode and comment your thoughts if you'd like. And if you're not already, please subscribe to the channel and help us grow to get the message out there. All right, on with the show. Welcome back to the Safety Moment. I'm Daniel Cameron. Today we're exploring a stark reminder that fraud in safety training and certification is a real and potentially deadly one. We'll walk through the case of Valor Security Investigations, the accusations against them, how the legal outcome unfolded, and then reflect on why this matters to us, and we'll even explore some ways we can prevent it on our sites moving forward. All right, Valor Security Investigations, Inc., or Valor as we'll say here on the show, emerged in 2017 as a company that marketed itself as a full-service security, investigations, and training organization. It positioned itself capable of providing safety training, security assessments, and regulatory compliance services. Over time, it gained approval by New York City to offer site safety training, or SST courses, among other types of safety credentials, including OSHA certifications. In its public materials, Valor claimed to combine security operations with training and compliance services. So between 2019 and April of 2023, prosecutors say Valor and its president, Alexander Shaporov, ran a scheme in which they issued safety certificates and SST cards to around 20,000 individuals, workers who never actually received this required training. In February of 2024, CBS News ran a story headlined, "Manhattan DA says company gave out thousands of construction safety cards and certifications without providing training." That's a mouthful of a title, but anyway. The article laid out the following core allegations. First, and this is bad as it can get, a worker named Ivan Frias fell 15 stories from a New York construction site in November of 22 and died. Valor had submitted paperwork to New York's Department of Buildings claiming that Frias had completed the required fall prevention training, 8 hours per their records, but investigators later discovered that he never actually received that training. Prosecutors asserted that the fraudulent training claim was directly connected to this tragedy. The DA's office said Valor had churned out thousands of safety cards and certificates to paying customers without actually providing any training. In internal communications cited by investigators, Valor's staff were instructed to make one up in regarding to OSHA or SST certifications for those lacking it. In one exchange, a person asked, "How fast can you get me a 40-hour certification if I ordered it today?" For those of us not in New York, the 40-hour certification refers to New York City's site safety training, or what I keep calling the SST card, required under Local Law 196. Valor's response? Tomorrow after 5 p.m. But as the DA noted, you can't deliver a full 40 hours of valid training in under 24 hours. The article reported that about 19 people, including New York City Housing Authority foremen and some master plumbers, were charged as brokers who connected workers to Valor's scheme, demonstrating that this scheme was even intertwined with people within city government. Valor was said to have issued certifications for 300 to 600 apiece, even though the training may have been nominal or non-existent. Prosecutors claim that Shaporov pocketed nearly $1 million in payments disguised as course fees directly to his personal account. On June 6th of this year, 2025, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office formally announced that Valor and Shaporov have pleaded guilty in New York State Supreme Court to a series of criminal charges tied to their operation of the sham safety training enterprise. And these charges include 1 count of attempted enterprise corruption, 10 counts offering a false instrument, and 1 count of reckless endangerment. On October 3rd of this year, 2025, Shaporov was sentenced to 1 year in jail, 100 hours of community service, and forfeiture of $100,000. And of course, Valor lost its security license. The DA office emphasized the gravity that Valor issued safety certificates without training, and in doing so, endangered the life of Mr. Frias. Other parties connected to the scheme have been prosecuted. For example, and I know I'm not pronouncing these names right, and I apologize, but Uktam Tahirov, one of these brokers mentioned, was convicted of criminal possession of a forged instrument in the 2nd degree, offering a false instrument or filing in the 1st degree, and conspiracy. Around 27 others have been charged as well. So to sum it up, the legal system has responded in a substantial way, including a criminal plea and a license revocation. Now, I'm certainly not a lawyer, but in my mind, the damage here was a death of a worker who was put in a place he did not belong. I don't have all the facts that went into the plea deal, but this does feel a little bit like a slap on the wrist to me. After a year, if he even serves all of it, Shaporov walks away. Not much was said about owners of the companies where these workers were employed, so I can't really get into that. But I can go into talking about how the Valor case is not isolated. It's actually part of a broader pattern seen across jurisdictions. And here's just a few examples. In New Jersey, a certified OSHA training agent named Mark Dropola admitted to selling false OSHA cards, submitting false reports, and improperly certifying workers. That is according to a DOJ release from 2019. One from May 2025, the Brooklyn DA's office announced that a Brooklyn man, Benedetto Bonello, was sentenced to 6 months in jail for making and selling fake OSHA and Buildings Department safety cards. He had used a company called National Site Safety LLC and sold certificates to workers who never received any training. In April of 2023, Zachary Phillips of Construction Dive reported that Brooklyn prosecutors charged 3 individuals in a scheme involving the forging and sale of fake OSHA and SST cards to construction workers. Some of these individuals were authorized instructors, but prosecutors alleged they sold cards without training component. In 2022, a New York State Inspector General's office uncovered a scheme during the construction of the Javits Center expansion. Individuals were arrested for distributing fake OSHA cards and other identity documents to circumvent safety credential checks. Safety and Health magazine covered a case in 2024 where a company was criminally charged for issuing fraudulent OSHA training cards tied to another worker's death. And the list just keeps going. That might have even been a little too long there, but I digress. A few points I've gathered in this story. These frauds, they're not fringe. They involve real credentialing systems that workers and employers depend on. Some of these fraudulent providers are already inside the approved training network. And enforcement in these cases occurs only when investigators detect anomalies. This kind of fraud erodes trust in safety culture, which in my mind is the second worst part of this whole ordeal. The first is that people are put into harm's way. In short, fraudulent training and certification is not a victimless crime. It directly compromises safety, credibility, and trust. So next, I'd like to cover a few recommendations that hopefully will help quell potential fraud like this. First, verify every card against the official database. Don't just glance at a worker's SST or OSHA card. verify it. For SST cards, use the NYC Department of Building Training Connection portal or whatever your local jurisdiction offers and confirms that the card number, name, and training hours match the official records. For OSHA cards, check with the U.S. Department of Labor's Outreach Trainer portal or the issuing provider's verification system. Pro tip: red flags include cards with incorrect font, misspelled names, mismatched logos, or inconsistent issue dates. Kind of like the OSHA card on the cover art on this video. I intentionally made it look super fake. In the Valor case, fake SST cards looked genuine, but they had no record in the DOB database. A verification step would have caught them. 2. Cross-check training providers before accepting credentials. Confirm that the provider is on the local DOB's approved course provider list or OSHA's authorized training list. Review the provider's approval number, course roster, and instructor license. Ask for proof of attendance records such as sign-in sheets or online attendance logs. And be cautious of same-day certification offers. Genuine training requires classroom time and qualified instruction. Any legitimate provider will be happy to share this information with you. 3. Audit a sample of credentials regularly. Conduct random verification audits on worker safety cards and certifications in addition to periodic checks. Pick 5 to 10% of the crew each audit. Verify each credential through databases or direct contact with the providers. Document the results and track repeat offenders or anomalies. Audits can reveal patterns that can point to systemic fraud. 4. Train supervisors and foremen to spot red flags. Pro tip: make credential verification part of field leadership training. Teach field supervision like superintendents and foremen to check for inconsistencies. Things like no hologram, uneven lamination, blurred seals, or QR codes that don't scan to official sites. Empower them to ask non-punitive questions like, where did you take your training? And was it in person or was it online? Require that suspicious credentials be escalated immediately to site safety managers or compliance teams. In both the Valor and Javits Center fake card cases, the fraud was first uncovered because a compliance inspector noticed irregularities during site entry checks. 5. Foster a safety integrity culture. Reinforce that safety competence matters more than paperwork. Incorporate skills demonstrations during toolbox talks. Confirm workers actually understand the hazard of fraudulent training and certifications. Encourage open reporting. Workers should feel safe to admit they need retraining rather than rely on fraudulent cards. Reward crews and subcontractors who demonstrate proactive safety behaviors and compliance integrity. In each of the Valor, Brooklyn, and Javits Center cases, there were workers who didn't even know that their training was fake. A strong culture turns them into allies instead of unwitting participants. So a bonus tip: adopt a fraud response plan. If you suspect fake credentials, first, isolate the worker from safety-sensitive activities immediately. 2, retain the card if they'll let you. Don't fight or scream or anything like that. Photograph that card for documentation. 3, contact the issuing authority, whether that's the Department of Buildings, the OSHA, or Department of Labor, whomever the local authority might be. And finally, report the case to your company's management or the local municipality's construction safety compliance hotline. So to close, the Valor case is tragic, but it's instructive. We work tirelessly to keep our people safe, happy, and healthy. And there are people out there who have no regard to you or to those in your care. They're merely in it to make a buck and nothing else. The person who should be the star of this show is Ivan Frias, but he's not around to share his take. Let's all commit to a culture of integrity in training and certifications, with rigorous verification and insistence that no one on our sites is exposed to this kind of fraud. Otherwise, we're merely pretending. And that is a risk neither our coworkers nor their family and friends can afford. Thank you for watching. I'm Daniel Cameron, and this is The Safety Moment.